I'm Jack, a 32-year-old corporate employee. I work for a large trading corporation in the sales department. I don't want to boast, but I've consistently had the best sales performance. I think that's largely due to my competitive mentality. I became aware of my talent when I started working. I'm once again at the top of the sales pack this month. I closed my computer screen after letting out a sigh of satisfaction that everything was proceeding according to plan. Every day is the same for me. The best prize is that. Significant alterations to my everyday routine simply don't appeal to me. Only relaxed people, I believe, can achieve that. Some people say, I need some excitement. I feel bad for them. They don't recognize the importance of daily existence. Then, however, someone showed up who disturbed my pattern. Lucy, a younger female manager, was transferred to our department in April of last spring. She was my direct superior because of her title as assistant sales manager. I have always had trouble with women in general, but it's not like I have a grudge against her. This is for a reason. My mom fled the house, leaving my dad and me alone. Don't get me wrong, my dad wasn't violent or had a drinking issue whatsoever. Instead, Dad was frequently ill, and my mother was the one who looked after him. I'm not sure if she grew weary of taking care of him. As a middle schooler, she left a note and left when I got home. Take care of your dad for me. My mother's letter contained only that information. I recall being more awed by it than by loneliness or melancholy. I felt angry at my mother and found it difficult to control it. Dad accepted Mom's departure as if it were the most natural thing in the world and never placed blame on her. Thus, my dad and I were the only ones beginning our lives together. Dad needed government help because he was unable to work. I committed myself to helping my dad and our family by taking part-time jobs after high school. I had no time to enjoy being a normal young person. I learned to put up a brave front no matter what, because I never wanted sympathy from anyone. I suppose I must have been a rough kid. Unfortunately, Dad died 2 years ago, following a protracted illness. I didn't know what to do after I was released from taking care of my dad. I thought I was no longer valuable. Probably as a result of my dad's passing, I became more involved in my profession. I think this is when Lucy, who had been assigned in April, first talked to me. You're always top in sales, Jack, she said. I made the effort, even though it felt dull and like she was making small conversation. That's all. Although most people accept that reaction, I didn't try to come across as modest. Of course, it would be difficult to achieve such results otherwise. Lucy remarked that while nodding in agreement in front of the sales performance that was shown on the whiteboard. I can smell the lovely perfume she wears every time she nods. She patted my shoulder lightly and said, Let's do our best this week too, before returning to her desk. Her left ring finger has a silver band on it. When I discovered she was married, I was a little surprised. In addition to being younger than I am, she doesn't seem married. Not so homely. That's how I felt. I found out the reason for this purely by chance. Every office has its share of gossip mongers, and ours was no exception, with many relishing in the rumors during their breaks. Today, one of the clerks was proudly sharing some juicy news she had overheard in the break room, and I just happened to overhear it. According to the office clerk, it seems that Lucy's husband passed away due to illness the year before last. This means she is a widow now. I heard it all happen so fast, from the time the illness was discovered to his passing. Hearing that, I stepped away from the break room. It was a bit surprising to think that someone as cheerful as Lucy had such a past. But then another thought crossed my mind. Why didn't she leave her husband? I'd wondered. Was it because his decline was so rapid, from treatment to demise? I believe that if her husband had struggled for a long time and had not died, Lucy would have left him. I know it's a biased thought, but this is something I know from my experience, and I believe it's the truth. What's wrong? Your coffee is going to get cold. Lost in these thoughts, I completely forgot to sip my coffee. By the time Lucy, who was next to me, pointed it out. I hardly took a sip, but it was already lukewarm. I'm sorry, I was spacing out a bit. Apologizing for being lost in thought during work, Lucy looked at me puzzled. Then, the next moment, she smiled brightly. Don't be silly. Everyone needs a break. No need to apologize. Her smile seemed dazzling to me. It was a wonder how she could smile like a sunflower blooming in summer. I awkwardly smiled back, but it probably looked like a ventriloquist dummy smiling. Don't force a smile. Save those smiles for the customers. After she jokingly said that, I covered my mouth with one hand, feeling as if everything was being seen through. I felt restless and uncomfortable. I'm sorry, I'm not good at smiling unintentionally. My true feelings slipped out. I had never said such a thing to anyone before. I was surprised at myself for revealing my true feelings to Lucy. Oh, is that so? For me, I find it hard to cry. Lucy gently brushed aside my true feelings and said so, as if we were exchanging our vulnerabilities. Maybe she was trying to be fair since she had inadvertently heard my weakness. In all things, Lucy was always like this. She treats everyone equally, lends a listening ear, gives encouragement, and brightens the atmosphere in our department by bringing everyone together. Lucy's reputation has soared, not just within our team, but across the whole department. By the time I saw her smile every morning, it had become the highlight of my day. Something unbelievable happened to me at the end of the month. I was left standing before the posted sales results. For the first time, I was in second place in sales performance. I couldn't hide my dismay, wondering if there had been some kind of mistake. The one who surpassed me and jumped to the top was a junior who had been hovering around the middle of the pack until last month. I had noticed they'd been putting in the effort after receiving advice from Lucy recently, but I never, not in a million years, thought they would surpass my sales performance. As I heard the cheers of my junior behind me, I kept telling myself to stay calm. Losing my composure was not an option. I must keep a straight face so as not to be caught off guard. The nails of my tightly clenched fist were digging into my palm. The one who gently wrapped around that fist was Lucy's slender finger, a fleeting moment as she passed by. Her fingertips seemed to soothe me, as if to say, "It's okay." Involuntarily, I looked up. Without looking back at me, Lucy walked straight toward my junior and congratulated him. The touch of her fingers lingered on my fist. It felt as if her feelings were flowing into me through her fingertips, a strange sensation. The tension of my clenched fist gradually eased. I could feel my strained emotions lightening. I won't lose next month. I conveyed my genuine feelings to my junior. The words came out naturally, probably thanks to Lucy. Lucy looked at me and smiled brightly. It was her usual radiant smile, like a sunflower. After work that day, we finally had Lucy's welcome party within our team. The team's party planner had booked a stylish Spanish restaurant. Our team always had high attendance at these parties, thanks to his efforts to find various interesting places for every gathering. This time, too, almost everyone was attending. We enjoyed exotic dishes and delicious wine. Under normal circumstances, I'd probably enjoy myself more, but I was a bit different tonight. I couldn't stand the fact that my sales performance was surpassed by a junior colleague. The supposed relief I felt was stirred awkwardly again by drinking alcohol. This feeling of irritation shrouded my chest and invited a worse state of drunkenness. I'm definitely not a bad drunk. I'm always properly paced, and getting disorderly is unthinkable. But tonight was different. I couldn't disguise my emotions and overtly avoided Lucy. "Please drink over there. Don't mind me." "Don't worry. I'll work harder from next month." I confronted Lucy, who had just sat next to me, and started talking with slurred words. "Come on, don't dislike me that much," Lucy said, trying to calm me down. She seemed to act superior, even though she's younger, and it irritated me even more. "How did you even get promoted?" "There's no way you can get promoted while taking care of a sick hand. can you? My mouth wouldn't stop in my drunken state. I know I'm in trouble in my head, but harsh words just keep spilling out of my mouth. Oh, you seem to know a lot. I'm a more capable woman than you think. Jack. Lucy brushed off my sarcasm with a complacent attitude. Even that attitude started to anger me. Jack, you struggle with women, don't you? She said with a mischievous grin, making my heart race, and I unintentionally got lost for words. See? Bullseye. Spot on. Right? She continued. That's why, whatever you say, Jack, it's fine by me. Taking a sip of red wine, Lucy said it with a straight face. This is her true feeling. I thought. It's like she thinks she knows everything about me. What do you know about me, being younger and all? I found myself getting defensive. The room's atmosphere suddenly turned icy. It seems my voice was louder than I thought. I do know. Too bad you don't like me, do you, Jack? She said, sticking out her tongue in a teasing manner. Lucy seemed to provoke me. I, irritated, unintentionally stood up from my chair. Lucy looked up at me with challenging eyes. I never said such a thing, she said. I can tell, even if you don't say it, I replied. She pouted her lips, somehow looking a bit sullen. After a few similar exchanges, I was the one who lost my cool first. I drank the wine I had in my hand in one go and leaned toward Lucy, shouting, That's what I'm saying, I like you. In that moment, Lucy, with wide-open eyes, looked up at me. Being able to surprise her, I felt satisfied. In the next moment, I blacked out. The next day, I woke up in my room with a hand holding my aching head. I was so embarrassed about making a fool of myself at the party that I wished the ground would swallow me up. Alone, I tossed and turned in bed. You're awake, huh? What I heard from the kitchen was Lucy's voice, and I was so startled. It felt like my heart might jump out of my mouth. Jack, you passed out after that. Tom and I brought you back. We missed the last train, so we had to impose. Approaching with a bottle of mineral water in one hand, Lucy looked somewhat refreshing without makeup. I'm so sorry. While accepting the bottle of mineral water, I apologized for my disgraceful behavior last night. Lucy smiled warmly and said, It's all right. Oh, but I also have something to apologize for. What is it? I asked, looking at her. Lucy, looking a bit guilty, clasped her hands together toward me. What on earth could she have done to me? I thought. If it's about what happened at the party, I really don't remember anything. I fought to turn off the TV, but it was left on, and then a DVD started playing. I saw cute Jack. She sticks out her tongue and says, I'm sorry. I glanced toward the TV on the table in front of me. An old DVD case was carelessly left there. Recalling what was being watched, I felt embarrassed knowing that Lucy had seen such a thing. I really wished I could just find a hole and hide in it. You saw it, huh? I said, Feel free to laugh. A grown man doing something like that, I uttered in despair. Why? She asked. I think it's wonderful. Remembering and valuing family is a wonderful thing, isn't it? I managed a wry smile as she asked me this, her face filled with curiosity. What Lucy happened to see was a home video taken when I was a child. It documented a time when I was most happy. My dad was still somewhat well, my mom was at home, and I was laughing innocently, oblivious to any hardships. This was filmed during a family outing to watch the blooming flowers, and my grandfather was the one shooting the video. He probably offered to handle the camera, so that the 3 family members could be framed in the shot. I was so young, adoring my parents, not having the slightest inkling that this happiness would crumble. Sometimes, I watched this video to remind myself that I, too, had happy moments. Not to forget that I was once like others, a person who was loved. This wonderful family fell apart a few years later. I felt the urge to tell Lucy everything then. About my father's illness, my mom running away, how I couldn't forgive myself, how I felt relieved more than sad when my father passed away. Normally, I'm good at putting on a facade, but with Lucy, only honest words come out. She was quietly listening to my life story. After finishing telling everything, I took a sip of mineral water. "No wonder you despise women." Lucy quietly opened her mouth after listening to my life story. Lucy showed neither signs of pity nor ridicule. Her face accepted all the facts as they were. Can I share my story too? When my husband died, I felt relieved. At her unexpected confession, I inadvertently let out a breath. It was really hard until he passed, knowing the end was near, but having no other choice. I don't know how much I cursed God. Lucy smiled a bit sarcastically. That smile was twisted, totally different from her usual cheerful one. I wondered which one was the real her. I wanted to know more about her. "Did you feel relieved when your husband passed away?" I asked. I was aware that it was an insensitive question, but I wanted to confirm it with her. "Yes, I did. I felt liberated," Lucy clarified. The liberation she felt was not from taking care of him. She seemed to think she was liberated from the fear of her husband being gone and the pity from those around her. Her husband's final moments weren't peaceful. It seems he suffered in pain until the end, crying out his desire to live. Lucy described his last moments as hellish. It was too much to face directly. I wanted to run away from there, to block my ears from hearing the prolonged beep of the heart monitor. She realized it was over. It was an insane moment. Ruminating, she broke down slightly. I couldn't start a family with him. I couldn't let him, who loved children, become a father, she concluded her story. I felt as if I had learned a secret hidden within her. Maybe she didn't ridicule me because she had experienced significant loss. Loss teaches you things, something Lucy knows firsthand. I wanted to say something comforting, but no words came to my mind. "See you on Monday, then." Lucy left after saying this. After she left, I got out of bed to check the kitchen and found a pot of easy-to-digest vegetable soup on the table. There was a note: "Heat it up and eat." The refrigerator was stocked with sports drinks. Lucy's thoughtfulness, her affection, was appreciated. From this day on, Lucy's presence in my life grew increasingly significant. I found myself hoping that she felt the same. However, when I went to work on Monday, her attitude was no different than usual. I was taken aback, thinking we had a special connection, sharing secrets no one else knew. But no, it was just boss and subordinate. Nothing more, nothing less. Such a relationship continued until the next spring. It was almost a year since Lucy was transferred. When spring came, and the cherry blossoms were in full bloom, I felt lighthearted. Every year, perhaps my body remembers the joyful times. Sunday was the anniversary of my father's passing, so I went to visit his grave. I cleaned it neatly and offered fresh flowers, a candle, and a cigarette, his favorite, together. I remember my father sneaking cigarettes despite doctors' warnings. He would laugh while smoking in his sick bed, saying, "This is the one thing I can't give up." Thinking back, he might have been a strange father. I wonder what kind of life he would have led if he hadn't been sick. I watched the smoke from the candle and cigarette rise into the air, imagining his life. Usually, I would feel more depressed visiting this grave, but not this time. The lake inside my heart was still. I felt very flat, quiet, and calm. I think it was the first time I prayed with such feelings. I realized something is changing within me. My obsession with being the top in sales has relaxed, fluctuating between first and third place. I'm no longer disturbed by it. I'm even surprised at myself for being able to sincerely rejoice at my junior's growth and colleagues' efforts. She has undoubtedly changed me. Lucy's presence has changed me. I haven't told her, but I'm truly grateful to her from the bottom of my heart. Later, that confession video shown to me by a colleague at a drinking party is now a funny story. Jack, no way. Don't you think this is too much of a coincidence? Suddenly, a voice called out, and when I turned around, there was Lucy. She is holding flowers for the offering. Huck, Lucy, is your family's grave here too? Lucy shared that it's her husband's monthly Memorial Day. Somehow, I find myself helping out with the cleaning. Lucy carefully polishes the tombstone, offers a candle, and lights a cigarette, just like I do. My dad was the same. Cigarettes, I mention. Lucy smiles and says, "Really?" Such selfish people, really. Despite being sick, as she lights a per-second cigarette. They can smoke all they want in the afterlife, she says, laughing freely. Lucy looks up at the smoke rising to the sky and murmurs something to that effect. Her profile looks so bright and cheerful. Perhaps Lucy has also managed to sort out her feelings. Jack, ready to head back. Fania walk together, returning the ladle and bucket to the fountain and the precincts. Lucy invites me for a walk. It's a beautiful day. A walk sounds nice, I respond. Lucy guided me to a park near a temple known for its beautiful cherry blossoms. The fully bloomed cherry blossoms were visible even from afar. There were many people enjoying the cherry blossoms, and with stalls set up, it had a festive atmosphere. I narrowed my eyes at the familiar place, feeling a sense of nostalgia. You remembered? I mumbled inadvertently. I would never forget. I decided that day that we would come here together when the flowers bloomed, Lucy says, while looking at the cherry blossoms. While slowly walking among the blossoms, I steal glances at her profile. Seemingly noticing my gaze, our eyes suddenly meet, causing me to involuntarily stop in my tracks. I can't stand it anymore. I hate waiting, she suddenly says, puffing out her cheeks and stamping her foot. Faced with her childlike behavior, I find myself feeling flustered. What upset her? I'm sorry. I apologize. I say, just in case, and the words of apology spill out. Seeing me like this, Lucy puffs her cheeks again. Really? You're hopeless, she says. Can I accept that confession? You did say you liked me at the bar, right? At the sudden confession, I inadvertently nod in agreement. I don't want to be your lover. I want to be your family, Jack. I want you to be a part of my family, Lucy says with a serious expression. I think ideally, I, as the man, should have said it first. I feel really bad for not having the courage. But Lucy had decided to confess to me in this park during the cherry blossom season. Are you sure about me? I'm not a good guy. I want you to cherish your wonderful family. That's why I want you, Jack, she says, hugging me tightly like a child. Her body is soft and slim, and I can smell her usual perfume. I'm sorry. Let me say it too. Please be my family, I say. At my words, Lucy tightens her arms around me. This must be her way of responding. We both carry a great sense of loss. Knowing this, I think we can cherish each other. I'll cherish you for a lifetime, I said with all my feelings. I'm sure there's no one else in the world to whom I would dedicate these words besides her. How did you find today's story? Hitting the subscribe and like button will motivate me to create more. I'm also looking forward to reading your comments. See you in the next video.